So, this is a quick kind of overview of the advanced speedrun techniques that exist within this game, Distance, as you can probably expect from the video title. A lot of this tech is that I'll cover in this video is sort of minor stuff that really doesn't matter, but this game doesn't really have a whole lot of useful speed tech. Some of this stuff isn't even useful in the main adventure mode for speedruns, and is only really will come apparent in community maps, but whatever. I'm not, like, doing this on a script, I'm just kind of winging it. So, yeah. But basically, for the purposes of the video, I'm defining advanced speed tech as anything the adventure mode doesn't tell you about. So, yeah, a lot of this stuff is super situational, but it exists, so I'm telling you about it. So, the first speed tech that I will tell you about is grip flight, which is because it's by far the most useful, which is very simple to use. It's very simple to do. You just flip upside down and grip in the air while upside down. And that's useful because not only does that allow you to fly without using wings, it's also faster, since you can see from the speedometer on the car that wings slow you down. A lot, because you can see how fast I go and with just boosting in the air. I can be obviously kind of skewed by gravity, but wings slow you down a ton. With grip flight, you can avoid that, since you are just boosting in the air. You're just using grip to, you know, push yourself up against gravity, so you don't have to deal with that. And that's by far the most useful speed tech that exists in the game, and the one that you'll be using a ton. Because pretty much anywhere you use wings, you'll want to use grip flight instead. For wings are still useful, which I'll explain later. If you're looking for a challenge, I guess, you can also do thruster boosting instead, which is basically the same thing, but instead of using grip, you cycle all 4 thrusters on the car. This is very difficult to do on keyboard, so only try this on controller. It is marginally faster, but it's not something that you'd ever really need to worry about, because it is extremely difficult. So you should only do this if you're bored. It's really not worth it. The differences are sub-second. Toasty. And for the next speed tech, I'm probably going to get a lot of angry mail about people about explaining this, but the next speed tech I want to explain is wheelie boosting, which you can see me do. You basically jump, you tilt up, you grip, and then you tilt down a bit before landing, and you can see you can actually get some pretty serious speed with that on straightaways. So in a lot of straightaways, that is a useful speed tech to do. However, that speed tech is doing that speed tech is kind of like a taboo in this community, so don't go actually doing it. I'm just explaining it for the purposes of documentation. It takes a bit of practice, but you can do it pretty well once you're good enough. The important thing to remember is that it only really actually increases your speed when you're already at about max. So that's useful on pretty much anything that's flat ground, for it works best on downhill slopes. But yeah, don't go actually doing it, because everyone hates it. And next speed tacks, which I'll be explaining, aren't really speed tacks so much as they are just kind of minor optimizations. But wing pumping is basically very simple. You just close and repeatedly open wings while you're doing it. This isn't really much faster, but I guess it can still provide a situational advantage because it still allows you to roll much faster than just with wings. I guess you could also use it in adventure mode a bit, because you obviously won't have wings, but it's not much faster. The most important uses of wing pumping, of just closing and opening wings rapidly, is the fact that you can gain a short burst of height. You can gain short bursts of height by doing wing pumps, which can be useful if you're just slightly too low for a landing.
Oh, that's too bad.
I'll try to show an example here.
So close.
Because if I come here, and I come up here, I can wing pump, and then I can get a bit closer there. I failed that miserably, but you probably get the idea. So, it's also useful, wing pumping is also useful, since wings, you can turn a lot faster with wings than you can with grip fly, since obviously you have a yaw, so you can use them to change direction very fast while grip flying. Because you can see here, it takes quite some time and you lose quite a lot of height from doing that with just grip flight. But if you go here and pull out wings, you can keep a lot more of your height and momentum. So, now I'll explain the tight turns, where if you use thrusters and turn at the same time, that allows you to do a tighter turn. So you can see, this is a normal, kind of about max turn. This is a tight turn.
Vaporized. Burning up.
If I can actually show this well. Yeah, you can see you can turn a lot more tightly with that. This isn't really too useful, but there's some cases in with corruption and monolith, if you happen to get a bad saw cycle, you can kind of use that to save yourself and thread the needle between the saws, which can be useful in some situations, but it's not something you really have to worry about. It's just kind of there. Sort of variation of that is the quick turn, where you basically stop boosting and brake while doing a tight turn, and this allows you to do a quick 180. Which, again, which is only really useful in some routes for community maps, and also it can be useful in reverse tag as well, wing pumping as well, because of the quick direction change. But again, not too useful, it just kind of is there, and can be helpful in some situations. And the story for situational speed tech doesn't end there, because the next thing I'm going to be explaining is angle jumps, which is really, again, very simple. You just turn, if you jump while turning, that angle, that will make you leave the ground at an angle, which, you know, can be useful in some situations. In a lot of situations, you'll probably do this kind of accidentally. Well, accidentally isn't really the right word. You just kind of do it automatically, just as another consequence of being in a tight space and having to jump. I'm only mentioning this as being an advancement, as being like a speed tech you can do, because there's a skip in negative space in adventure mode that you can do using it, which saves about 4 seconds over using the road. And that's one place where you would intentionally think about doing it, but for the most of the time, you just kind of, all the situations you use them, you just kind of do them automatically. For instance, in the Dissolution, the first skip where you jump off the side to land in the building, you can angle jump there, and you probably do it without thinking, because it's just kind of natural to do. next up is another thing that's really only useful in a few select situations, and again, you probably do naturally, just because of the consequence, but this is something which I'm calling magnet boosting, where you sort of abuse the thruster force, not thruster force, magnetic force of your wheels when you're close to a solid object to gain height or speed. If I can kind of demonstrate that there with this floater, you can see that I get pulled up. You can just kind of pull yourself up without even landing, and that can be a help sometimes, although you probably want to land anyway so you can get a thruster reset. Since, as you probably know, your thrusters decrease in power after 2 seconds of using them in the air. But that can be useful in one skip in the thing about machines, as it allows you to pull up without tilting up, which would obviously point your boost speed upwards, which would reduce your horizontal movement speed, as you can probably imagine. So, again, not too useful, super situational. And the final thing I'll be explaining is the wall shove, or at least that's what I call it, which is practically useless in the entire adventure mode, and you'll never have to do this, but if you can shove yourself off the track without any abilities just by ramming into it. Which I guess doesn't really qualify as advanced, but this can be useful in a few community maps that disable stuff like jump. You can also do it faster with thrusters, but you have to make sure that you actually. I think you can do it. Well, I don't actually know, but I think you can do it faster with thrusters. It seems logical to me, but you have to remember that to only activate the thruster when you're already like on the wall, because if you do it before then, you obviously have a harder time since it's pushing you down. I honestly have an easier time with it, just ramming into it without thrusters. The only time you'd really need to worry about this in a lot of situations is, again, community maps, and also if you happen to be some weirdo who's playing Adventure Randomizer. Since you might not have jump at specific points in there. But that's everything that I have in my magical list of stuff I wanted to explain in this video that probably isn't actually very helpful. I just thought I could try something, I suppose. But, yeah. I could provide an overview, but all this stuff requires different... It has to be done in different situations, so it's not something that I'm really going to bother doing. So, yeah. Especially because there's like a bajillion of this stuff, which isn't actually that helpful, but might as well explain it just for the few cases that it is. An obvious disclaimer: this obviously being, since the game is still in beta, some of this information may not apply in the full adventure mode when that comes out. But a lot of this stuff, the VTach will probably remain the same, since I'm pretty sure the physics are locked in for this build. But, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, the physics are, I'm pretty sure, locked in for the full release at this point. The only real differences would come in where these are used. But that's about everything that I have to say about this stuff, so you probably didn't enjoy this 15-minute unscripted video, but maybe it was helpful. Alright, I'm out.